Good evening, you're listening to Shadowplay FM. It's Grelans again, and we're happy to say that we broadcast in English again because we have a special guest. It's a playwright, actor, and a theater director from the United States, Mr. Jason Lasky.
Hello, how are you?
We're fine, and you?
Great.
We're happy that you agreed to make this show because we're really interested in a conversation about theater and arts and a dialogue between our cultures, and I believe our listeners as well are interested in this, in understanding each other better.
Yeah, sure. Well, since I'm not a stranger to Russia, my wife is Russian, and through her I've gotten to know a lot about Russian culture. I visited Russia a bunch of times already. I've been to St. Petersburg and Moscow. I've been to, where else? I've been to Murmansk now twice, and also, it's in the Golden Circle, where some of the major churches are. What the heck is it called?
Yaroslav?
No, it's not too far away from Moscow. It's like a day trip outside of Moscow. Sergei Posad, yeah. So I visited there as well. So I'm still in the getting to know you phase of Russia, but so far so good. And this has been going on for a couple of years already. So yeah,
nice to hear.
Yeah.
Nice to hear. Can you tell us your story in a nutshell, because it's very interesting that you're a playwright, not just a writer, but you're working with a theater.
Yeah.
And can you tell me about how you did come up with this decision?
To work in the theater?
Yeah, to become playwright.
To become a playwright?
Yeah.
Well, I had been studying. I was studying anthropology in my undergraduate university, which is called Binghamton University. It's in an area of New York. New York is not just New York City. New York State is quite big. So I was studying there anthropology and biology. I was a science guy, and I went and saw a student production of a play, and I thought, wow, that looks cool, and I think I can do that. So I started taking theater classes. Fast forward a bit, and I studied abroad for 1 semester in Nottingham, England. And at the University of Nottingham, they have a student-run theater group that's called the New Theater, and I auditioned for all of their productions for the fall, and the only people who were interested in me were the devised group. And devised means that you create your own play. So I was working with a director, a producer, and then 2 girls, 2 actors, and one guy from Hong Kong, who comes into the story way later on as well. So we made our own play we had 1 month to create a play. So from concept to writing to finding out the costumes, developing the characters, building the set and all the props, getting everything together, selecting just everything, full-on production. So we had 1 month, and that was my introduction to playwriting. And after that, I just thought, wow, it's one thing to go play a character, it's another one to write and create your own character and your own story. So that was the introduction to it, and that was 2003. Yeah.
So it was when you were in England, yeah?
I was in uni. So I studied abroad, and then I came back. So it was just 1 semester in England. And then I came back to New York. I finished my anthropology degree, so I have a bachelor's of science with a biology minor, but I kept taking theater classes. And I did just a little bit of writing while I was still in my undergraduate years. And then I graduated. I focused more on the acting and learning more of the craft, movement classes, voice classes. I got to take all the great theater classes that they had there. And then I graduated, and right before I graduated, something interesting happened. I was in a class, and the class was it was for actors and for actors who want to be directors. And at the end of our final show, a teacher came up to us, and he said, "Would you be interested in taking what you just did for your final project in the class and performing it in China?" And I said, whoa, yes, because that was pretty unique. And that year and the year before, my university had created an exchange program between a university in Beijing and this university, Binghamton University. So the year I graduated, it was going to be the second time that they were going to take a group of American students to China, and it was the first time that they brought Chinese students to America. So I got to see, I got to be in a workshop with some of these Chinese kids. I got to watch them put on all their costumes and makeup, which is very, very intricate, very, very detailed, and very time-consuming. I got to see a Beijing opera, an abridged, a shortened version of it with English subtitles. So that was my introduction to China, and then when the teacher says, "Would you like to go to China?" I just thought, wow, this is so interesting, and yes, I'd love to go. But the money wasn't there, but I still had the idea to go to China. And so I found online a teaching position in a school in Shanghai. I got an online TEFL certification to teach English as a foreign language. And I went to China, I went to Shanghai in 2006. But I got there and it was just the shock of being in China and the shock of being as a teacher. Now, I had some teaching experience, but nothing where I was in charge in the classroom. So just figuring all that out the first year, the first school year, 2006 into 2007, I didn't really make any time or have any thoughts about acting or theater or anything like that. But the year after that, my second year in Shanghai, I found a workshop that somebody had put together. And so I started going to these classes, which were just a lab, a black box theater where I could work on anything I wanted to work on with people, doing scenes, working on character building. And it was around then that I had a new idea for something to write. And that was when I started taking the writing a little bit more seriously. And it just so happened that the person who ran the workshop, he had the idea to have a 10-minute play festival or a one-act festival. And so I had this writing. He said, bring in anything that you want to hear read out loud. And I said, well, okay, I have this new idea. Let me bring it in. And I brought it in and read it. And there happened to be some invited directors and producers and other actors in the audience. And mine was the only piece that the thing I wrote stood out from the other pieces that were presented. Mostly there were comedies, good, bad, and in between. And then mine was the only one that was dramatic and had some kind of dark humor about it. And the director who saw that piece, who was there, he approached me. He said, what you wrote was really different from what everybody else wrote, and there's something interesting about it, and maybe we could work on it together. That led to forming a theater company in Shanghai with me and that director who was American and also Taiwanese, and this Taiwanese-Australian girl, this Austrian actor, and so we made our little theater company, and so we started doing our own material. That's when playwriting really became something more, and that was about 2008. So 2003 to 2008, there was this 5-year lull of no major writing, a little bit here and there, but nothing substantial, I suppose.
Okay, and I think this is a peculiar thing about short plays, short pieces like one-act play, 10-minute play.
Yeah.
Is it only because it was like a requirement from the tutor to make it shorter than it should be, or just desire to feed the audience expectations who do not want to watch long scenes or something, or both?
Well, you mean specifically for that in Shanghai, what he wanted? Well, I had no idea what a 10-minute play was at that point. I didn't know what a one-act play was at that point. I knew full-length plays, and I had been in full-length plays, but I didn't know, this was new language for me. So for him, I think he just wanted to have an evening of variety, and whether they were 10-minute pieces or one-act pieces, whatever it was, that's what he wanted. And so we took that idea, and we ended up through creating our own theater company, which is called, it's kind of in limbo right now. It was called Fifth Wall Theater. And we said that at that point, Shanghai didn't have so much English language theater going on. So what it did have going on was something that we didn't want to really be a part of, with all due respect to what everybody else was doing. So we said that, well, let's just do only original work. And our first night, it was my refined idea for what I presented in the workshop, but then it was just, I worked on it with the director, and he was really instrumental, actually, in showing me a better way of writing. He was my first mentor in terms of writing, a guy named Michael Oyoung. So he took that idea and he said, well, it's pretty short still. It's only about 20-25 minutes. What if we do variations on the same play? And then it was called Marriage Counseling, 3 sessions. The first session was between a husband and a wife. The second session was between 2 ladies, 2 lesbians. And the third session was a movement piece between a modern dancer with a bit of ballet and jazz with a Muay Thai boxing champion, actually, and right now becoming a bigger movie star. He's been in a couple of films with Jackie Chan. So the idea was to take the story, the idea, and put it through a couple different versions of it. So we have a man and a woman having this problem, a woman and a woman having a similar problem, and then a movement piece that is a physical exploration of that battle between, in this case, a man and a woman. So yeah, that's what that play turned into. Now, I've written 10-minute plays, 1-act plays, full-length plays, monologues. I've written some 1-minute plays as well. And that's what I've found is that, generally speaking... Oh, excuse me. Sorry, I just spit on you. I'm sorry.
That happens.
I love to share. What generally speaking, people's attention spans are getting shorter and shorter. And so watching in terms of live theater, a full-length piece, which can be anywhere from 2 hours to 2 hours 15, maybe even 3 hours. Someone who just won or recently won a Pulitzer Prize had something like a 3 and 15 or 3-hour 20-minute play. But generally speaking, people's attention spans are getting shorter, and also the current state of theater. I don't know. It seems like there are tons of opportunities for 10-minute plays, tons of opportunities for 1-acts, tons of opportunities for full lengths, but there seem to be more calls for 10-minute plays and full-length plays, mostly because they're easier to produce, and most of their requirements when they put together the rules for submitting is it has to be easy to stage, no major technical requirements, and they just want something where it's bing bang boom, easy to put on, easy to get off. I mean, if it's a 10-minute play, you also don't need to rehearse all that much, and people, you know, I guess people, not only are their attention spans getting shorter, but also their busyness and their ability to focus on one thing for an extended period of time, perhaps, are also getting shorter and shorter. And this isn't just my theory. This is something that's going on. And also there's so many articles written about people at, for example, New York Broadway theaters taking out their phones, talking on their phones during the show, texting during the phone. It's just having this technology in our hand. It's very hard to put it down and just get lost in the reality or the reality or the fantasy of what's going on stage. So that's a big contributing factor also. So I'm happy to write and to submit, and I have written, I have submitted, I've had my work produced and performed, monologues, 10-minute plays, 1-act plays now, full-length plays. I've had everything produced so far. And a lot of the production actually has fallen on me and my wife at times to make sure that the thing happens. I just had a 1-act play that was in 2 festivals in New York City. It was about 35 minutes long, and while I was working in Shanghai again. Maybe we'll get to my travels later on, but I've been in Shanghai 3 times now. I've been there, I left, I was there, I left, I was there again, and now we left again. So while I was in Shanghai, I was in charge of the production for this one play in New York City that was in one festival in September, and with a different creative team in another festival in November. And so I was managing everything as much as I could from afar. And you know, it went on, it was produced, people enjoyed it, I got some good feedback. I got 1 or 2 reviews out of it also online that were very, very positive. So, but right now, the next one, the play that we came to Murmansk to work on, that's going to be a full-length play.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was happy to see one recording on YouTube of your play, The Lifeguard.
Lifeguard.
Yeah,
Ah, okay.
Lifeguard.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask a couple of questions about it because I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
There was a recording with your introduction, and I like the phrase. It really caught my attention. Like your character says, like, shit happens for a reason. Can you agree with the character, or some shit may happen without determination? Or
Well, for him, shit happens for a reason. For me, see, that particular play actually comes from a very personal place. His story is in part based on some events in my life, and what I found in my writing is if I take some of my experiences and then I say, okay, this did happen, and this did happen, and this happened. What if I turned right instead of left? Or what if, this? What if at this particular moment I was surprised by something? How would I react to it? For him, for the lifeguard, he made some rather bad decisions, very selfish decisions, and in the end, it cost him and actually it cost other people much more greatly. Without going into the details of it, feel free to watch it on YouTube if you want. Our dear listeners. But shit happens for a reason. That actually comes from my mom. My mom, she dealt with she had breast cancer, and a year after dealing with that and having surgery and having things removed, she found out that she had something with her heart that had also have some attention paid to it. So she, she's still here. Everything's good. She's fine. She's very, very healthy. But I remember her saying very distinctly, very, very specifically, Jay, if I hadn't gotten, if I hadn't had breast cancer, and then maybe I wouldn't have known about the heart thing. So she sees it as one thing led to another, which led to the present, right? So that's a very causal, in terms of philosophy and causality. It's a very causal kind of relationship, and so that particular line comes from something that she said. She said shit happens for a reason. She said this happens, shit happens, and then shit happens for a reason. So I gave that to my character. That shit happens for a reason, and that's for him. He's trying to figure out. Okay, he made these decisions, which led to the consequences, and now he is still here, so he has to deal with those consequences. So there has to be some meaning because now where does he go?
Yeah, there should be a meaning. Yeah.
For him, there has to be meaning, and for me. Everything that's been going on the last couple of years, or if I look back on, it's funny. Even today, just this morning, I was thinking about that play, and I was making a connection between the last, the only main stage productions I was in when I was an undergraduate in Binghamton. Both times I was playing guitar, and the reason I got into both of those plays, one was Twelfth Night by Shakespeare. I was playing Curio, and I think really the main reason I got in was because I could play guitar, and I could play it better than whoever else auditioned, if anybody else auditioned. They needed a guitar player, and that opened the show, actually. So the first thing that happens in that show is me playing guitar. And I don't have so much to say. I talk to the king a little bit, but that's about it. Then I disappear, then I come back at the very end. But my music basically started the play after the big storm and the twins get separated. We're in the King's Court and I'm playing. I'm like, okay. Well, and then I think about the musical I was in. I was in Pippin. Again, I was playing guitar. And a reason I got into that play and a student production of that play 2 years before was because I think I could play guitar. And then you saw Lifeguard.
Yeah, you
playing guitar.
You play very well.
Right. Thank you.
The song was really awesome, and the lyrics and dance.
Thank you. That was. I was really happy with how all that turned out. That was actually an evening that had two parts to it. That lifeguard was a surprise, which actually threw the audience members off because a different play was advertised as being the main play. And let's just say that I learned a lot about producing and the way that an evening should run from that production. But yeah, just the guitar. So yeah, I'm thinking now that this new play, 40 Days of Night, is going to have some guitar in it at some point.
I think that it should have some.
I think it should also, or maybe a balalaika. I'm not sure.
Oh, there was also some huge balalaikas.
Sure. Yeah, monstrous ones.
It looked gorgeous on stage.
Yeah. Maybe one of my characters plays balalaika.
Yes.
Sure.
Spectators would be surprised if it comes as a huge thing and stuff like or folk songs. So.
I'll never say never, but it could definitely happen.
It could happen.
But with all this happening, looking back on everything, I'm a big believer with my wife in Svetlana, in the universe. So I can't say shit happens for a reason.
Yeah.
Things happen, good things and bad things, and if it's just, I've actually started in the last year or so, just how things have moved, that everything does have a purpose. Every experience is actually good. It's just a matter of perspective and a matter of attitude. So, if something bad happens, okay, did something bad happen? Okay, what good? Yeah, what good can come from it? Or just looking at it, okay, it looks bad, but if you look at it from a different angle, it's not that bad. It's not a horrible situation. And even with big things and small things, you lose a little bit of money. You leave something in the car. Something gets lost. You find it. Okay, good. Right? It leads you to learning something about responsibility and ownership of things. And that's losing something that depends on what you lose. But what do you gain through loss?
Yeah, you lose stuff, but you gain experience.
You gain experience, and you gain maybe a better awareness of yourself and your surroundings.
Sure. So, as we started thinking about balalaikas and stuff, maybe the next question would be about music. Do you have any fellow composers in your crew who maybe commission work or music? Or are you thinking of creating original pieces or soundtrack, or how much is it important in terms of short plays or full-length plays, or it should be like an introduction, like before the lifeguard, or it should be like an interlude or something? What's your attitude towards music in theater?
Music definitely serves a great purpose, and not just music, but sound.
Yes.
Sound serves a great purpose. I've seen plays where you hear, I've heard the sound, a particular song, and that song, it sets the tone. You can go watch Hamlet and have the players, like in a production I've seen, the players take out their instruments and they play a very upbeat song. What happens if in a different Hamlet, they're all playing a very dour, depressed song? Well, that already brings you into this particular world, an upbeat world that then goes the way it goes, or a downbeat world that goes the way it goes. Music serves such an important purpose in theater that I don't think that can be stressed enough. But it's also, how is the music used? If the music is there from the very beginning, or maybe it's in the background, running throughout the entire thing, the music tells a story as much as the characters on the stage. The music is always another character, or the sound is always another character. It has to be, because it's going to help. It creates not only the mood or the tone or the atmosphere, but it creates a different texture of the whole play. So I was very fortunate with this last production I had of my play, Mend the Envelope, in New York, where my director knew this guy who, his name is Liren. Liren, I don't remember your last name, but Liren is an internationally award-winning composer. He's played in Europe. He's won some major awards in Europe. I think he's an NYU graduate. And she knew him, and she went to him and said, Can you work on some sound for this play? She said, it really needs it in a couple points. And he said, yeah, he'd be happy to. And then I contacted him, I emailed him, I heard some of the clips of what he was working on. And it was very, very haunting and very, very chilling. And it was just spot on. Just, wow, I can't believe I have this guy composing stuff for me. And we've already talked since then, since the play was finished. And he said he'd be happy to do something with me again, if the time and schedules are right. So, I don't know, I might go to him, I might contact him and tell him the concept for the current play and say, do you have any time, do you have any interest? And he didn't work for free. I hope one day I can pay him exactly what he's worth, because what he did for my play was just superb. So I haven't collaborated with anybody multiple times for any of my work, but this guy has his head in the right place, and he understood what the play was about by reading it and what kind of sound would help in the proper moments. The Men in the Envelope had a couple, let's say, it had a dreamy quality about it. And so he created this dreamy sort of sound that just went right in with what the characters were expressing on stage. And it was this one section of the play where both of them seemed to be in and out of each other's dreams, and it's not really clear even what the audience is watching. Is this actually happening? Is this inside? Is somebody sleeping? Is somebody away? Is it real? And what is reality? And think questions like that.
That's a hard question.
Always a hard question. Even right now, is this real?
you can know for sure.
Yeah.
At any time, at any moment.
So working with him was phenomenal. For Lifeguard, I wrote that song. I made the song myself. I had help from an awesome guitarist who was living in Shanghai, working at my school, my former school at the time. And he showed me a couple chords that were just so helpful for me making the song. And so I've done my own compositions, and it worked for Lifeguard. I don't know if it would work for something else, but it's possible. Incidentally, my wife loves that song.
And me as well.
Cheers.
I would have it just as an audio track.
Okay.
For download or something.
Oh, sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah.
Sure, for live it work really well. And for the current play, 4 days and nights, you mentioned planning some music.
There will be. I can't say what yet, but it will be. I'm not even thinking about that, but there will be something. There has to be something.
Yeah, because as you're in Russia now, maybe you can hear some Russian music on radio,
sure.
in transport, TV or something.
Yeah.
It can make an impression right now. When
Sure.
Some plays around, like ambience, like a background noise, and it doesn't have any impression on you and on your work with the current play. Like maybe a background where the events can happen, or what is your attitude towards Russian music you heard? Maybe you can name some names which can be.
I'm not in a great position to name names, unfortunately, but certainly riding in the taxi, I hear a lot of dance music. I hear a lot of dance music on where else or what else? I hear dance music, and then I hear very classic music or like older traditional, maybe folk Russian music. Those seem to be the two, and I did an interview with somebody else, and I listened to they were another radio station. I won't say who they are because I don't want you to.
I know these guys.
Okay.
As I wanted to get a job there because
okay.
Yeah, so we like a dance club music. You're not good enough for us. You listen to raw music.
Yeah.
So I know who we're talking about. We won't know.
Yeah, but anyway, just
we will not call them.
Sure. But I think in terms of other music, I actually we got a balalaika as a wedding gift actually. So I did have the urge and the interest to learn how to play it. I just haven't found the time for it. But watching some YouTube videos of I guess, the world's greatest balalaika player, the small balalaika. I see this guy just go to town on it, and it's absolutely phenomenal just how he plays, and it's just a couple of strings. It's crazy how he plays. I'm thinking, I think the balalaika has to be in in the play now. I keep spitting on you. I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
I'm so sorry. But in terms of specific Russian music, when it comes to, well, I'll put it to you like this. My wife and I wrote a play that we produced, directed, co-produced, and I acted in it also in Shanghai. And when it came time for music, Svetlana and I, but mostly Svetlana, she was in charge of figuring out what the music was. So I had a little bit of input, and we were talking about it because it was a very collaborative piece. And so she said, okay, well, for here we need this kind of music, and we have this scene that's in the club, and we have, what music are we going to have for the introduction to the club? What will we be playing during the club? What would work there, and also what works in Shanghai. So, going through my library, going through her library, going through, I guess, also what we heard around us, we were definitely taking in some impressions from Shanghai to help create the world, because the play was set in Shanghai. So I guess I guess the main thing will be that when it comes time to actually add some music to everything, we'll sit down and we'll talk about it, and that'll be something for me and Sveta. I'm always listening to what Sveta says, or taking her ideas and seeing, okay, does this work, does this not work? But then, so if she has an idea, she'll tell me. That doesn't mean it'll definitely be in the play, but there's a good chance that it could be in the play. Just as good a chance as it could be in or not be in. But then with the director, if it's me talking to the director, whoever he or she may be, and they have an idea, like I'll talk about it and say, well, maybe, that works, or maybe that's something I hadn't thought of, and, let's listen to it or see how it works before either one of us says no. Always try it, because you never know. One never knows what's going to ultimately be the best choice until you try it.
Yeah, sure. When we met the first time, I also liked that your speech about the therapy. Like for you, writing is not kind of some therapy.
No.
But for a spectator, it's supposed to be so. So the spectator should kind of get lost in what's happening on stage, right?
I'd say they should buy into, and they should get lost in the reality of what's going on stage. I don't think it would necessarily be. It could be therapeutic. It might not be therapeutic. It might just be entertainment for an hour, or 2 hours, whatever. But the kind of emotional response that a bunch of people recently had to watching the new Star Wars movie. They've been waiting so long to see this movie, and it was so good. And for me, I watched it like, that was good. I can't wait for the next one. I hope it'll be just as good, if not better. Always hoping the next one will be better in some way, shape, or form. But did you see the new Star Wars?
Not yet. And any franchise, we're expecting the next, will be better than the previous one.
I mean, that's what I strive for in plays also. I had a great director once who said, okay, that was a great show. Okay, that was your worst show. Your next show will be your best show ever. And so it's always, okay, how can we live more truthfully, or where can the energy come up where it was dipped, or did I mess up a line, or things like that. So it's always striving to be better in some way, even if it's something small. And with sorry, what your original question was? What it was about? Therapy. For me, it's not therapeutic. It's just me trying to understand maybe areas of my life or areas of life in general that I don't quite understand. So it's here's an opportunity for me to create something that's not true, but is still reflective of something that is true. Resembling truth, or maybe just exploring some area that maybe it's true for me, maybe it's true for other people as well. So if there is a connection, then that's great. One of the nicest and also darkest and strangest and whatever other adjectives I could use to describe it. Bizarre, or kindest words that I received from the last play in New York. The actor, I think his manager has her husband, his business manager or friend, something like that. Her husband is in a wheelchair, and my character is in a wheelchair. He suffered a horrible accident, and he's dealing with it, and not dealing with it completely 100% in the happiest of ways. In fact, not so happy at all. And I was told that it really struck a chord with her because the actor was playing it very, very well. And I saw a video of it, and he was definitely, he took on the physicality of somebody who has a middle back injury, so everything from that point down is not working, and that's a very, very hard life. And so she watching that was connected to something very, very, very close to her. So I'm glad that I'm glad she was there. I'm happy that I wrote something that spoke just to this one lady and her particular life. I hope that when she went home, she was really, really, really happy to see him. And that was the thing about writing that play, that my aim was that at the end of it, people would feel happy with their lives. That's what I was going for with Mend the Envelope, that people would count their blessings and hold those blessings really close to their hearts. Yeah. Because the idea was, okay, let me take all the good things in my life and take them away, and then what am I left with? And like I mentioned at New York Cafe the other night, and so doing that was very, to think about, okay, what is awesome, what is great in my life. That's not therapeutic. That's just taking stock in my own life and just appreciating when my baby smiles at me and my wife says, "I love you."
What is to be appreciated?
What is it to really appreciate life? Yeah. And when
in general.
Generally speaking, and like for this lady very specifically, and for me very specifically.
Yeah, it can be really have a personal touch.
No, for all the theater, I think it's impossible for a playwright to write without drawing on his or her own experiences, because it's like, what did my teacher tell me? Write what you know about. I've had other people tell me that, write what you know about. Well, I write what I know about, but then I write about things I don't know about and go educate myself. Like the play that Sveta and I did in Shanghai, we had to learn a lot about transgendered and transsexual and transvestite, and just what is it about these people's psychology? How do they live? What is it that they go through in their lives to actually get to a place of being happy and being complete and feeling whole as a person? It was such a great education with Mend the Envelope. I had to go research back injuries. I had to go research how do people go through their physical rehabilitation. For one of the particulars of the son in that play, he was born with cerebral palsy. Okay, I learned that there's actually 5 stages, 5 different types of cerebral palsy, and I had no idea about that.
Me neither.
Yeah, from low functioning to actually very high functioning. We had this idea of cerebral palsy in our heads where the kid or the adult is in a wheelchair their entire life, and they're physically twisted and things, and maybe their brains have developed, maybe they haven't developed, but that's the worst form of it. There's then a middle form of it, and then there's a very, let's say, acute form of it where it's a touch of it, so the person actually can walk around and can actually function at a very high level. It's just that's what's great about the theater, and what's great about writing is that doing one's homework is so fulfilling. I now know that much more about these different areas and these different people. It's important. Got to speak from some area of from some area of expertise. And if that means I have to make myself an expert each time I write a play, then I'll make myself an expert. Which is why we came here. I wanted to become something of an expert in Murmansk, researching, talking to people, and trying to understand. Okay, what is the life here, and how can I take the life here and do something with it in the theater? That's the whole purpose of being here. One of the main purposes to understand what is this place, and what is polar night, and what are the polar lights, and what are who are people who live in Murmansk? What do they care about? What makes them happy? What makes them sad? Things like that. What's normal for them that's not normal for, say, another part of Russia or New York or Shanghai? What is this normal?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. There should be a researcher every time in every test. She writes.
Yeah. And the directors and the actors and
yeah.
my actors, two guys that had to both learn Hebrew for my play, for the beginning prayer and the end prayer of the story. I had a prayer open it. I had a prayer finish it. They had to both learn Hebrew, and they wanted to do a good job of it. So that's their dedication to becoming a quick expert in something. So so I applaud their efforts tremendously for wanting to go to that place because it was so specific.
Yeah, it's also like taking a challenge every time.
Yeah.
For any crew member
Sure.
involved in the project.
Yeah.
Okay. So then the last question for tonight.
Sure.
Can you say something to our listeners who want to learn more about American culture and American literature and American theater? What plays would you suggest them? And
Oh wow.
and,
Plays. Specific, just plays?
the theater, which can they Google and find on YouTube and learn more about culture and the theater?
Yeah.
And like trends, or like what's modern situation of nowadays, current situation.
Sure. Well, thanks to Google Translate, anything and everything can be read in every language around the world now.
Yeah.
So I would actually highly recommend www.tcg.org. tcg.org. TCG is Theater Communications Group, and they're actually the reason. They're the ones who gave us, or who awarded us, the grant that made our trip to Murmansk possible, and everything that we've been doing. So thank you, TCG. So I would go there because I read that website, and there's also AmericanTheater.org or .com, which is related to TCG, and there you can very, very easily read about what's happening in American theater right now. I just read a great article. It's about this group had the idea to do a piece of theater that was based very much on a lot of the recent, and by recent I mean the last year or so, events where a white cop killed an unarmed black man or black woman. Or a black person died while in police custody under very mysterious circumstances, and so this theater group decided to go to the places where each of these events happened. So they went all through the United States, which tells you a lot already about the climate of gun culture and black culture versus white culture and police culture, and to go to the sites, if not exactly on the site where the individual was murdered or killed, or however you want to put it, but within a particular distance, if not on the exact spot, then around that spot. And they did a series of, I think maybe 5 or 6, or maybe even up to 10 playwrights were commissioned to write pieces in response to what had gone on. So they went and they performed street theater, live street theater, and they recorded it, and in some cases the police got involved and said you have to get shut down, or you can't do what you want to do here. If you want to do it somewhere else, or you're just not allowed to do it.
You keep saying it for the kids.
Yeah, exactly. So that I had no idea that was going on, and incidentally it featured one of the playwrights who inspired The Lifeguard, and who inspired me to actually follow theater, a guy named Neil LaBute, who I had the good fortune to meet a couple years ago in New York, and I forgot to tell him that I was a playwright, and that he was the one who inspired all of my theater life, that seeing his play The Shape of Things when I was a student made me think I could be an actor, that The Lifeguard was based on his plays Bash, or the Latter Day Plays. Lifeguard was influenced directly by those series of plays that he wrote. And I met the guy, and at the moment, I went to see actually his play among some 10-minute or 15-minute plays at a little afternoon/evening of theater in New York City, and I got there and it didn't start yet, and I had to go to the restroom, And I left the theater, and I say, excuse me, do you know where the bathroom is? He says, oh yeah, right over there. So I go into the bathroom, and then I'm washing my hands, and I think to myself, oh, was that?
That was him.
Oh God. I go back outside, and like, excuse me, are you Mr. Neil LaBute? And he looks and he's like, yeah, that's me. Like, just great fan of your work, and I start throwing all the I was actually starstruck, or theater struck, and it never occurred to me to say, by the way, you're the reason why I do so much of this theater stuff, and why I wrote a play. At that point, Lifeguard already was written and produced and performed, and here I had an opportunity to thank the guy, and I didn't. And so I said, what did we talk about? I said, it's so nice to meet you. I wish I had something better to say than, which way is the bathroom? And he looks at me, he's like, that's actually the way that I met, who did he meet? He met Harold. He said, I met Harold Pinter the same way. And Harold Pinter is also one of the greatest playwrights who's ever written, and I've been in some of his pieces as well. And so, so it was a cute encounter. If I ever get the chance to meet him again, I'll tell him, by the way, this is what I meant to say when I first met you. So I'd say go to those websites. He wrote a piece for this. The article is about American civil rights, or America 2 is the name of it. It's about civil rights, modern civil rights in the world and on the stage. And they have so many great articles about actors preparing themselves for roles, and everything can be translated into Russian. It's very easy to. And in terms of current playwrights, they have a whole listing of what's going on, what's playing in the country, and that's a great place to start. I would say go there because it's the American National Theater Organization. It's the #1 theater organization in America. So they have just so much information for somebody to go through. And me, I've just only really begun to even look through the website and understand what's out there, what's going on, and what kind of theater is around in America. And TCG also has these international ties and these international grants, and it's perfectly reasonable to say that through TCG one could go through this kind of cultural exchange, because they do have cultural exchange grants, and in which an American playwright or an American theater or American actor could bring somebody from Russia, for example, over to America to do some work. It's a great place. Another place I would recommend, there's the network of ensemble theaters, and that's more a collection of theaters that are all around the United States. They're based in Los Angeles. TCG is based in New York. We also applied for a grant through them. That one didn't go through, but the one with TCG did. So that would be another one. I think that one is www.net.com or .org. But in terms of playwrights, there's so much American theater. There's so much great American theater. There's also so much great international theater. I wouldn't want to tell anybody just only read America, what's happening in America. Read what's going on in Spain. Read what's going on in South America somewhere. See if you can get your hands on some other playwright, just to see what's going on.
So much happening.
So there's always so much happening in the theater. That's why the theater exists, because there's so much happening. Therefore, the theater needs to understand what is happening. That's what the theater is for. Just like for me, I write the play to figure out what's going on in my life and other life, and if people connect to it like a stranger who just off the street, then great. So for your listeners, dear listeners, очень приятно, я Jason Lasky. I would say, go to those websites as a start. If you want to start with a great American playwright, I would go with either Edward Albee, Albee. I would go perhaps with Neil LaBute. That's Labute. I would go with August Wilson, Wilson. I would go with Annie Baker, Baker. Who else would I go with? those are a couple names to start with. Just go to the website and look around to see what's going on. But those are some of the more established names. But American theater has been around. George Washington, first president of the United States, was seeing The School of Lies, which was his favorite play, and that was based out of England. And American theater has a long, rich tradition. Read white playwrights, read black playwrights, read Latino playwrights, read male and female playwrights. Everybody's perspective is valid. I can't say everybody's work is great, but there's no shortage of things to read. And if you want to get to know America, read the plays. And for example, August Wilson, a famous black playwright who died a few years ago, he had a century worth of plays. He had a play to represent every decade of the 20th century. So he wrote 10 plays. It's his masterwork. I believe he lived to see all of them produced. I think so. At least 9 of them. Not that he took his entire. Not like he was 10. He wrote a play, but it was his great observation on black life in America through the 20th century. And I believe American actor Denzel Washington is going to produce all of those plays as short films, or as films for HBO in America. And I guess those will be on online or VK.com within the next year or so. So that's to have a body of work that really takes a look at life through 100 years of a country that hasn't been around for that long. I'd say that'd be a great introduction to American life, and also and black American life, because that is not the same as, say, white American life, or Asian American life, or Latino American life, or Russian American life. America is such a weird place that it has all this huge mixture of people and perspectives and experiences that all the theater that is produced that reflects all of those lives and experiences and hopes and dreams, it's all something worth reading. That's why it's hard for me to name names. I name some names because those are some of the ones that I enjoy, but there's so many that are out there that I haven't read yet, that I have yet to explore myself. So go to TCG.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the advice. Really useful. Yeah.
No, my pleasure. Also, if you want to learn more about me, you can find me at www.jasonlasky, JASONLASKY.com. 40 Days of Night. We have VK.com/40 Days of Night in English. That's the website. We're also going to have a Facebook group up sometime soon, and that's I guess that's me. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for this interview.
My pleasure.
It's a pleasure for me as well to speak to you.
Yeah. Well, I'm just so curious. What are you doing with radio theater, with radio drama? I wanted to ask you about that. What's going on in Russia with radio drama?
Oh yeah, the tradition. You also have a tradition of radio theater from Soviet times.
Okay.
But nowadays it's going quite deep and underground, as it's a little long. It's about 40-50 minutes radio play, and not much listeners would listen to it immediately. So there are more YouTube views on this or recordings. So they can be online at the same time, and we have really small, about a dozen of people we see. We have a dozen of listeners. So
that's cool. It's a start.
We're still young. Still beginning. Yeah, we make some humorous sketches in Paris. So that's just on New Year's Eve. We will have a comedy. It's about 37 minutes. It's about the New Year. It's a traditional fairy tale, more or less. So we think it's funny.
Cool.
And when we upload it in VK, and some people like some, but it's not that popular as it should be. Maybe it's a little bit weird thing, like radio things. Not many people do it, but we actually are proud of ourselves, like something different. When I say we were cool and best, we were just, but it would be not maybe not true.
No.
Maybe true, but we're definitely different. And still the same. we stand with the people, and we like have a motto: we are different / we are the same.
Yeah.
And I think this is important in what we're doing for all these years.
Sure.
And we just keep doing what we're doing. We hope we get famous one day. Why not?
Yeah.
And it's also necessary to know this is non-profit stuff, on the ground stuff.
Yeah.
We all do this like in our rooms, or maybe just just like a network from people from different towns of Russia and for other formats, so it's countries like Ukraine or Kazakhstan or any other, and it's what's keeping us in touch. The idea, the one direction of this maybe free spirit of web art, because we have not only radio play, like underground musicians, and so. We make radio shows telling about less known bands, also from the US and other countries. So we just doing what we like, and just don't get earned a cent for the 4 years and not having any money, but we just do what we do. I think.
Yeah.
It's just makes us proud of ourselves because we don't have to use some phrase, do what we told the producers or anybody else.
Sure. Yeah. It's you.
Yeah.
It's you doing what you want. Yeah. It's
sincere stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. That's great.
Thanks.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Tak. So. So. Okay. Well,
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. This was Mr. Jason Lasky, a playwright and actor, and just a nice guy from the USA. And you were listening to Shadowplay FM. I'm Silver Lenses. Gotta see you someday. We'll probably have next show in just as regular in next 2 weeks. So thanks for listening. Again, good night.
С днем рождения. Oh, no, that's zero. No. С Новым годом.
That's
хорошо.
okay. We have a birthday of our community just in January, so
okay,
it can be broadcasted just quite soon after our birthday. So it's
okay. Well,
thanks as well.
Well, happy birthday, happy New Year. Good luck. Take care. Пока-пока.
Goodbye. Good night. Thank you.